Welcome to Business Chats with Debbie, where we talk to small businesses about their stories. I'm your host, Debbie Warburton, and today I've got the lovely Clive Kessell from the Really Useful Advice Company Limited. Got it right.
Really?
I do find myself saying that to the kids. I just look at them and go, really?
Really? I think the benefit of the Really Useful Advice Company, which hopefully does exactly what it says on the label, is that if you can punctuate it with an exclamation mark, you know that you've had an impact.
Yeah. Well, it is. It's one of them words, hasn't it, that's really sort of come on over the years.
It has. Yeah. And my brand was actually created by the network that I interact with.
Yeah. So obviously you've got quite a few different hats. And the main one behind it is obviously the mentoring side of things that you do with people to help them become a better version of themselves and to basically make their businesses what they want their businesses to be, because people get lost along the way. Do you know what I mean? Especially when you're on your own, you've got no one to talk to, you're doing everything yourself, you're answering the phone, you're doing your accounts, you're doing everything really, and it's really hard when you haven't got that person to bounce off and say, well, is this a good idea? Is it a bad idea? Where do I need to go? What am I need to do? And that's what you do.
Yeah, and it's side hustlers, it's solopreneurs, it's duopreneurs, it's small, medium enterprises. And inside of each of them, there is a person. And a person has dreams. A person wants to be successful. But when you're a small, medium enterprise or a single person, you're sort of, as you say, you're not surrounded by your team of specialists. And I quote quite often as being a generalist. I've got specialists like yourself. Recently, I think there's been 3 referrals from some of my clients that have come across to you. But non-judgmental, fully objective, bouncing board for things that you can't speak to a supplier, you can't speak to a client, you can't sometimes speak to your partner or your bestie, or maybe even your business colleague, because you just want to test something. And over a cup of coffee, sometimes a glass of wine, we can just throw those ideas around and try and make them successful. I think the main focus that I start with all clients is try to get them to remember, what does success look like? And it's what you're eating for breakfast, the holidays that you're going on, the people that you're seeing, and the life that you have. And it's a word which is overused, I think, which is thriving. I start with, what is your survival? If it's a financial analysis, in effect, what is the one stage away from Wilkinson's in a sleeping bag that would mean you will not be successful? And that normally comes down to the absolute, almost like treading water. Mentally and physically fatiguing, no sight of land and no hope of a boat rescuing you. But once you know what your survival figure is, you know what you need to have coming in every month on average.
And most people
to
don't
get
know
there.
that.
No, they don't even consider it.
No, most people don't know what their break-even point is.
So I then add an element of living to make surviving palatable. And living is maybe the Netflix movie. It might be going out for that one weekend meal with a family, or it might be that you want to go and see friends, or it could be just going to the cinema, that age-old thing, which we never used, we don't seem to do anymore, not as much anyway. And once we know what our survive figure is, and then the living, that's the bit that we need to focus on. Over here on the right-hand side is a thrive. What is the life that you want? How many global holidays do you want? How many local holidays do you want? And how many places do you want to go and see? It's not about the car that gets you there. It's not about the mobile phone, the latest, iPhone 15 and all of this stuff. It's the conversations that you have. And once you get people to look far enough in advance to imagine themselves in that place, you can create a plan A that navigates them towards there. I don't like plan Bs. A, apparently, according to my son, it's a rapper. But plan A needs to be flexible, agile, transformative. It's like a train that you get on in Glasgow, and you want to go all the way to the end of the line down in Penzance here in Cornwall. You can get off that train. You can go onto a branch line. You can pause at a station, or you can continue to the next level. It doesn't mean to say just because you go back a couple of times that you're not successful. It means you've had to take stock. And in small, medium enterprises and side hustlers, we do quite a lot of 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, founder fatigue. What am I doing here? Why am I doing this? I've lost my direction. And I sit there trying to understand what they want, then put the person in the business and identify what skills they have. And where they've got a skills gap is find a specialist. It could be HR, it could be accountants, it could be tax planning, it could be PR, it could be media, it could be marketing. The phrase I was given of a network ninja or a rash over the southwest, you can't get an ointment for, depending on who you're speaking to. My network is 2.8 to 3 stages away from knowing everybody.
Mm.
So if I don't know somebody, I'll know someone who does know somebody, and that person knows everybody else.
Yeah.
LinkedIn is evidence of that, I think. So.
Yeah. Well, that's all right. People that as a sole business owner, you're one of these people who looks and says, "I can't afford that."
Yeah.
And sometimes that can't afford that bit is the bit that holds you back.
Yeah.
You can't, do you know what I mean? How are you supposed to grow your business doing what you do if you're spending every night doing your accounts or answering the phone and taking orders and everything else? At some point, you've got to reach that point and say, well, I'm not going to grow any bigger until I ask for this help.
I think some is asking for help and some is the fear of letting go. And I think we get that with all people that started up with an idea.
Yeah.
I think for me, the asking for help, if we go back to Survive, Living and Thrive, I calculate all of their numbers on 4 days a week, 6 hours a day for 46 weeks a year. Because A, they need holidays, B, they need a break, and C, they've got those administrative, invoicing, credit chasing, networking, business development activities that they need to undertake. And I think the biggest difficulty, I guess, for people engaging with me is wanting to see success too soon. So the initial meeting that I had with all of my clients is no obligation, no cost. They might buy me a cup of coffee, I might buy them. Never watching the time, just to try and dig deep into that organization, that individual, and find out what they want. And then try and find something that they can get quick wins from. Something maybe that they've already thought of and they just don't know how to get it out there. And at that point that they can see success, there's never been anyone come back and question what the cost is. No. So I think, find success and then you don't worry about
as soon as you know it's working, then you do what I mean. There is anything that gets you doing what you want to do and takes the pressure off and helps you grow your business. Do you know what I mean? As long as it's not costing you the end of the earth, because obviously you're in a negative position then, or even it's costing more than you're actually making. Yeah. Then do you know what I mean? It's a no-brainer.
All of my clients, and when you look at my clients, and by all means, anyone that wants to can follow Clive Kessell or the Really Useful Advice Company on LinkedIn, and you'll see that they're quite diverse. There's a marine engineering company, there's the Birds of Prey Centre. There's a marketing and outdoor advertising company. There's a jewelry company, and there's a lady who makes fashion accessories out of unrecyclable plastics. But inside each one of those lovely businesses that they want to make a success is a person that has a dream. Yeah. And I remember of that age that actually there was a program called Paradise Island. And if anyone remembers it, there was a little short guy who used to go, the plane. And when they arrived and they got off the airplane, the welcoming host would say, I make your dreams come true. And that's all I want to do. Yeah. I charge every customer exactly the same amount, a flat rate, because I like to get them together from time to time. Wouldn't it be embarrassing? So actually, he doesn't. Yeah, exactly.
It's not like me where it depends on how many services you add on. Do you know what I mean?
It's a flat rate for my time to be able to make them better versions of themselves. The frequency that they engage me is the cost. And I will be the first person to say, don't use me too much until we can see success, until we can see the revenue starting to come in. And at that point, you're on your journey. I just need to come in and do a cross-check balance. Make sure you're still on heading in the right direction, making sure the scope's not creeped, which happens quite often because,
happens with everybody.
I want to do that. And I think at that point, if we take long-term example to short-term example, big box advertising might be Spencer Woods and now Alec with Big Box Creative. I started with Mike and Spencer 6 years ago when they were just the two of them with 3 billboards plus one that they were renting in another area outside, so Truro and Helston. And look where they are now, digital advertising screens in the NHS. They've got billboards all over the Southwest. They've now started a creative design agency. They're now doing marketing and brand foundations, and they're now expanding into other areas. And I hear a rumor there's a rebrand coming. So they're the long-term ones. So with them, I only have to pop in, sometimes it's once every 6 months, or they might just give me a call and go, Clive, you could just do with a chat. The most recent one, let's say Nikki Danning Jewelry. So she's a mum with a young family that can't go out and work in the traditional way, the 9 to 5. She needs to work it around her children's education and the life that she wants. She now employs 2 other mums in a similar situation in a little cottage industry in Constantine, making jewellery to make mums in a similar situation feel like goddesses, to feel valued. Just because they're at home looking after the kids doesn't mean to say they can't wear beautiful earrings while they're feeding their baby. And that person, you could see, and I could see it with yourself, inside there's this beautiful idea of what success looks like.
Yeah.
Yes, so we've got to get sales. Yes, we've got to get wholesalers. Yes, we need to be able to manufacture enough at a cost that we can make a threshold price on something that we can purchase. But there's a person inside that's got a great idea, and they just need a little bit of a nudge to come in from someone who's got...
And just some ideas outside the box.
Yeah, platinum highlights, I like to call it. A bit of grey-haired platinum wisdom.
Because you've got your own ideas, but sometimes it's somebody seeing inside, rather than you looking out, someone actually looking in and saying, what have you thought about that? Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And it's those extra ideas that basically get you to where you want to be.
Yeah, and I'm a master of none, jack of all, I think is the trade name that I give as a generalist. If we use Evotech Marine down on the Lizard Peninsula, almost ended up going bust with a bad client. Not his fault. It's definitely the client trying to push him over the edge. He was charging £35 an hour, no call out, and he had a workshop where he would meet people to give them parts so they could go and do stuff. So I sat in his house down on the Lizard, beautiful spot right next to a river, and I said, well, £35 for looking after a gin palace and someone's side activity, someone's extra wealth idea. I said, what is Volvo? What does BMW Ocean? What does Mercedes-Benz in Truro? What do they charge as an hourly rate? Because you should be at least that, if not more, 65, 75, £85 an hour. So I had to convince him that if he had 5 clients and he put his prices up by 20%, if he lost one client, he would actually be less busy and earning more money. He has put his prices up to £85. No one questioned. He lost one client, but actually didn't really want him anyway. He now does a call-out fee, which is £150. And we've now got a Dojo card machine that you can actually take the payment before it sails off into the big blue yonder. Yeah. Why wouldn't you look at that if you're a small business owner yourself thinking I could be more profitable? It's because you're too busy doing. Yeah. And you need someone just to come in.
And you don't get, do you know what I mean? You just carry on the way you're doing.
Yeah.
And before you know it, 2 years have gone past and you haven't put your prices up.
Correct. Yeah. And we all know it, at the moment prices are going at 10, 12, 20, energy costs, fuel costs are going up. Every year you should put at least an inflationary plus increase. Anyone who's got an O2 contract in the last 12 months, there's a prime example in the advert, 3.9% plus CPI. Well, CPI was running at 12.6%. So it's 15 to 18% increase in a contract you couldn't get out of. So put in an inflationary increase plus a bit more every single year. If you're going to put your prices up to quite significant, and most of my clients will put their prices up by 20% on about meeting 3, realize they can become more efficient, more economic and more effective. But what they can also realize at that point is that there's a really loyal client. There's someone that they want to keep. They've been there since year 1. So the easy way to deal with that is actually, well, I'm going to put my prices up in January next year, but this year I'll hold my prices for you. But there will be an inflationary increase and it'll move from 35, 45, 55, 65. One of the clients that he had a conversation with, he said, if you need to put your prices up, do it now. Never had the conversation with the client. Useful. Yeah, really useful.
Really? Thank you so much for coming in today.
No
it's been a pleasure. Thank you, guys, and I will see you on the next one. You can catch, by the way, if you don't know Clive Kessell and you want to know Clive Kessell, just Google his name and you'll find him on the Really Useful. He's everywhere, honestly. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.